Well, hello and welcome to everybody out there, students and families, and welcome to our webinar series. Today, we're going to be going through information regarding VET and Vcal programs offered here at CRC Sydenham. So my name is David O'Brien. I'm the Director of Community Engagement here at CRC Sydenham. I'm also on the senior leadership team. And in a moment, I'll introduce the rest of the team who will be presenting very important information to you tonight. But before we do that, I'd like to begin, as we always do at CRC Sydenham, by firstly acknowledging the country that we are on in our respective homes. And our meeting is being held on the lands of the Wurundjeri Wurrung people. And as a community and individually, we wish to acknowledge them as the traditional owners. Catholic Regional College, Sydenham, and each of us individually would like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to any Aboriginal elders and other communities who may be here tonight. I'd also like to lead us in prayer, and I'd like to begin with the Sign of the Cross, in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. And this prayer is actually the MacKillop cluster prayer as it relates to one of the aspects of our curriculum here that we're talking about, which is Vcal. As the MacKillop cluster is the cluster associated with our Vcal students. So we pray, God, washer of feet, through the example of your servant, Mary MacKillop, you reveal to us a model of service and social responsibility. Increase our faith, we may imitate your Son, Jesus Christ, and be prepared to humble ourselves through selfless service and our sisters and brothers in their need. And we make this prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. So thank you all for attending. We've got some information to help you with your son and daughters and help all of the students out there make the most informed choices they can with respect to their courses for year 11 and 12. I'd like to introduce the panel here with us tonight. Actually, just joining us, we have the leader, the cluster leader, and the leader for Vcal, Sue Edwards. Say hi, Sue. We've also got the learning area convener for Vcal, Joseph Shaw. We've also got the vocational education trainer the learning area convener for vocational education and training, Andrew Casme. And we've also got our RTO manager, Alison Sawyer, here with us as well. And we've also got one of our Vcal students who's able to give us a perspective from a student's point of view, and that's Jackson Bridges. So what I might do now is hand over to Joe, and Joe's going to go through with us the information to do with the Vcal program. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, David. Welcome everyone to the information session for 2022 Vcal. My name's Joe Shaw and I'm the Vcal Learning Area Convener. So I'll be going through these slides with Sue, and also Jackson is going to have a bit of a chat, which is going to be a really good opportunity for us, for you to hear from a student what Vcal is like at CRC Sydenham. So first of all, what is Vcal? It's a senior secondary school qualification which focuses on a hands-on approach to learning. So I'm sure everyone's heard of learning by doing. That's what Vcal is, that we try to, across the curriculum, have opportunities for people to put what they learn into practice. It's a qualification, a senior secondary qualification that provides students with the skills, knowledge and attributes to make informed choices about their pathways. And we have students going into a lot of different industries. So some people think that it's just for trades, but we have a lot of students going into a variety of industries, which we'll hear more about this evening. And there's a focus on employability skills, participation in family and community contexts, and becoming lifelong learners. Sue, did you want to take us through what VCal, the pathway following VCal?
Sure, thanks. Thanks, Joe. So once you've done once you've done a completion of VCal, there are different levels which you'll be going into next year, and it's one of the final years, I suppose, where we've got foundation, intermediate and senior. If you come out at any level, there's opportunities for all of you. So the levels are a personal goal, if you like, and you would still get your VCal certificate and any of those 3 levels. So you could go straight into employment, an apprenticeship or a traineeship, and an apprenticeship might start during your VCal years. You may get a school-based apprenticeship with somebody and they would start you off slowly, that 1 day a week, and then at the end of your graduation or your successful completion of VCal, you would then go into an apprenticeship with them, or you finish your VCal and get an apprenticeship that way and start looking. We would usually get you to start looking towards the end of your course. But then you've got other options. You can go in and do diplomas or different certificates at TAFE. You could go in and do a Cert 4, a diploma. Some of our students have applied for advanced diplomas because they've got the senior VCal certificate, and many institutions will actually look at not an ATAR, but whether you have secured senior VCal, and they take that upon board. Once you've done your diploma or advanced diploma, with the institute that you've chosen and the course that you've chosen, they will have a pathway into a degree for that course if it continues on to a degree. So an example would be that if you came out and did a diploma in business management or legal studies, and you wanted to work not as a lawyer, but within the legal firm as a support person, administration for a lawyer, you could then go into a bachelor of that. So Bachelor of Business Management, they're examples that I'm giving you. They're not restricted to that. So there is a university pathway. It is for people that have an idea of what they want. Scored VC is not for them. Exams are not for them. And an ATAR, it's a little bit longer, the path. But having said that, once you do a diploma or advanced diploma, either with an institution, they will usually take you within their bachelor and give you credits for that year you've done. So at the end, you probably didn't add a year on. You might have added 6 months to your course, maybe not. Maybe it would just be a smooth ride. So in terms of VCal, apprenticeships, employment, straight into the workplace is the exit pathway. Going to TAFE to do a diploma or a higher certificate, advanced diploma, and then having a university option is very much a possibility and a pathway from VCal. So don't just think in terms of, I won't be able to get a degree or I won't go on to further study. You certainly can.
I also think it's a really good opportunity for young people who know what they want to do and know that they want to start work as soon as they finish school, and it gets you on a really good footing for that. I mentioned before that VCal is about applied learning and participating in hands-on experiences. We try to have group and project-based learning. So we focus on our students building skills, so communicating with each other, working as a team, developing their leadership skills, which are things that they're able to take from school into the workplace straight away. We try to offer opportunities for authentic workplace learning, and we're going to talk to Jackson shortly about his work placement, and applying the skills that we learn in the classroom to real-world problems. Learning is student-centered, which acknowledges interests and working to develop skills and knowledge. We're really lucky in VCal that we've got the flexibility in curriculum to talk to our cohort and find out what their interests are and structure what we learn around them, whether it's more hospitality-based or sport-based or construction. We can really tailor what we learn to the students in our class in any year. Sue, did you want to talk about how the structure of VCal works at CRC?
Yep, not a problem. So as I said, currently we have foundation, intermediate and senior. Intermediate and senior are the equivalent of a year 12 pass. Foundation is a year 11 pass. However, having said that, all three can be completed, either of them or either of the three can be completed at year 12 level, because we do have some students that might do foundation over 2 years because of their learning requirements, and we will work in with them and also, I suppose, set up Vcal to work for them. So Vcal is very flexible in that it's got outcomes. We don't have a study design like VCE. We have a study design of curriculum and outcomes, and how we get to that end result is up to the teachers and the students, so that it's very manageable for all different levels of academic level. And having said that, we have very high achievers in Vcal as well, who could have done VCE, have got an ATAR and gone on to further study if that's what they chose, but they've chosen it because they want to get into a trade or a particular industry, and they don't need that. And it would have been a longer pathway for them doing VCE, getting an ATAR and then starting an apprenticeship, where they may feel they're behind the 8 ball because others would have started that apprenticeship experience in Vcal before them. So here's an example that a student might come in at year 11, and many of them will be at the foundation level, and then we would go into intermediate with them, or they would go into intermediate year 12. Within that year, if they are identified as being a really potential candidate for senior Vcal, then we would look at moving them into senior Vcal mid-year. They could apply as well, but we do have a process to do that. The reason is that senior is, out of 140 students, for an example, within the cohort, we may have 20 that are doing senior and probably 10 that would get it. So we would certainly give an intermediate student that shows promise and we think may get it, the opportunity to try. We're not saying that they can't, but it is a very highly skilled area, because you're actually project managing many tasks. You are running a lot of, how would you say it, projects, but also having the initiative, having the holistic study ability, if you like. Your language is really high in English, your numeracy is quite high, and your, I suppose, community interaction is high as well, but project management is very much like a manager of a team, because you'll be managing teams within senior. So not all students will achieve it. That's not a problem. Any one of these levels is very valuable and valued. And what we ask as teachers, and what I ask as a coordinator, is that you actually achieve the highest standard that is equal to your ability, that you're not sitting below your ability, just coasting, that if we think you need to go up, we will push you to go up and have a go at that next level. So that's an example of a student coming in and doing foundation year 11, starting intermediate year 12, maybe staying at intermediate year 12 and graduating, or a couple of their peers, or they may go up to senior in the middle of year 12, and that last 6 months would be predominantly, or well, would be senior level work. And if they achieve that, they would get senior certificate, and if they wouldn't, they would default to the intermediate certificate that they were working at, and that's their level. So they would come away with a certificate. We're not setting you up there to fail, but we would like to push you to get the best level of your ability.
Thanks, Sue. I think it's a really good example of the flexibility. And I know that we've got students who do all 3 levels, and we also have students, we can cater for students who just do foundation over the 2 years and come out with a senior certificate.
No, foundation.
So looking at the core Vcal subjects that our students do, I'm going to go through them quickly, and then I'll have a chat with Jackson about some of the things that he's doing in these classes. So we've got literacy, which comprises reading, writing and oracy skills, and numeracy. Numeracy we also offer as general maths for people whose trades are more maths based, so generally students studying electrical. Personal development skills, which is project-based learning, and a lot of skills about communication and teamwork. Work-related skills is looking at OH&S, how to apply for jobs, putting together CVs, mock interviews, and that sort of thing. And part of that is structured workplace learning, and then industry-specific skills, which the students do in their vets. So, are you there, Jackson?
Yep.
Can you tell us about a couple of the things that you're doing this year in any of your classes?
So for literacy, so like English, we're doing at the moment a unit on World War II. And through that, we've learned through all different countries' involvements, all types of stuff towards actual World War II. Through that, we've read the book Night to talk about, and it shows us what people went through back during the war in stuff like numeracy, which is math. And I'm doing.
So you're doing general maths, aren't you, Jackson?
Yeah. So at the moment, I am doing general maths, which we're learning about bivariate and univariate data, which we've just finished off with, and we're about to go into financial maths in that.
And if you're not a big maths person and terms like bivariate scare you off, in numeracy, so I teach numeracy, and it's more applied. So at the moment we're doing personal finances. So we've got 4 sections in the unit where we're looking at savings, we're looking at expenses, we're looking at debt, and we're looking at investment. And it's all really concrete things that you can put into your life about being financially literate. So that's one part of numeracy we do. Another part is planning and organising. So figuring out how to put something into, to make a plan and to put it into action, and different steps like that. So if you're really into maths, like Jackson, you've got opportunities for that. But if maths isn't your strong suit, numeracy is really, it's a really good way to understand how numbers work in a really practical sense. Your class has done some good stuff in PDS this year. I know you raised a lot of money for MND.
Yeah, so with that, we did for the Fight MMD round in the footy. We did a lot of stuff with motor neuron disease, selling the big freeze beanies, which was a really good thing to do. We all project managed by getting them, bringing them sort of into the school and selling through that. That was something really good through PDS. Also throughout PDS, we've done even stuff like the road safety unit, which we've learned about, because sort of like all of us in my class around 18-ish, getting our license, it was great to learn stuff on different road safety techniques and stuff that we're going to actually help us out in the long run, definitely.
Fingers crossed with that. I know it's scary seeing some of our students start driving to school. So structured workplace learning. All VCAL students are required to undertake structured workplace learning 1 day a week. Students go to work for the day at the times indicated by the workplace they are in, so it's not necessarily during school times. I was talking to one of my students yesterday who was starting a new placement and needed to be in the city for a 6 a.m. start. So we were going through the very early morning train times, which he wasn't too excited about. It's ideally done in the industry that they're intending to pursue when they leave school, but it doesn't have to be. The minimum payment is $5 a day as set by the government, which is supposed to maybe cost the cost of your Mikey, but yeah, not much more. Often employers will pay a bit more, but they're not obliged to. And before students can start their placement, we need to have paperwork done through the school to make sure there's a contract and make sure they're covered by insurance. So work placement, most students, unless you're at Caroline Springs and you're doing VCAL this year, most students won't start workplace learning until they've done the OHS units at school. So if you're coming in as a year 11 and you haven't done VCAL before, the earliest you can start work placement is semester 2 of year 11. What do you do for your structured workplace learning, Jackson?
So I work for an electrical company up in Gisborne. So my sort of structured workplace learning day is, well, it's on Wednesday, so it was today. So I have to be at Gisborne at 7 a.m, get at the factory. From there, we just hop in the van, go to different job sites around the general area. And that's from like roughing in houses, so running cables through houses, to fixing up small jobs and renovations. And then I clocked off around 4 o'clock today, so had enough time to get on here and explain.
How did you organise your work placement?
So I actually was fairly lucky. One of my the people that I've got a holiday house with, that my neighbours owns the electrical company there. So I was just asking, back in year 11, I asked, could I just come 1 day a week just to either help out or just learn what you have to do in the industry. And from that, he just let me on to keep working with him.
And have you had a chat with him about next year?
Oh yeah, so I've had a chat with him for next year. Definitely, he was thinking of letting me on with an apprenticeship, which was really good. And it's mainly just I've got to finish up my pre-app course, which I'm completing as my electrical cert 2.
Yeah, that's pretty typical of how most of our students find their work placement. It's through family connections, and quite often it does lead to apprenticeships, as long as the boss and the student are happy with how everything's progressing. Did you have something to add to?
Yeah, I think you just covered it too, Joe. That was great. It's that idea that a lot of our students coming to us get really daunted by the fact that they have to go out on work placement. And as Joe mentioned, in year 11, you can keep your 2 vets and can stay there unless you have done a Vcal in year 10, like Caroline Springs students. So not to be daunted by it, but it's also very much a networking. It's getting out there. Who do you know? Who your parents may know? It doesn't have to be some obscure new site where you don't know anyone. Some of our students find that, but as Jackson did, he's used his initiative, and he is a senior student, so he's using his initiative, but for thinking, okay, I need to get here, how do I get there, and putting that in place. And employers really do appreciate students contacting them and not us or parents. And that's what we would expect too, that students are taking that initiative and that next step. But exactly that, Joe, and you've illustrated that, Jackson, which is fantastic. It sometimes is that forethought, and who do you know? You might already be sitting there as year 10s knowing people and places that you might have a connection already with, and that can turn into a work placement and or employment going forward. So, and if it doesn't turn into employment, it's great experience and it sets you up for that next step of applying for apprenticeships. So that's fantastic.
So some of the employability skills that we focus on in Vcal is problem solving, self-management. So I think as Jackson went into there, he's a really good example of that, the skill of going out and networking and talking to different people, using technology, planning an organisation, initiative and enterprise. So being self-motivated and communication. One of the things that I love about teaching Vcal is the communication with the students, and the environment at CRC Sydenham in general is a much more adult environment where you can develop strong relationships with the students and the teachers and a number of other people. So communication is a really big one. I really quickly wanted to talk about something that you might have heard about. That so last year there was a review into Vcal by John Firth, and he wrote a report where he mentioned CRC Sydenham as a really good example of what the Vcal program should be. But that wasn't consistent across schools in Victoria. And so the Vcal program is going to be, I suppose, rebranded as, they haven't figured out the name yet, but it's something along the lines of VCE Vocational. So the cohort that's starting next year in 2022 is going to be the last cohort that gets the Vcal certificate. And the students starting the following year will be starting the VC vocational specialisation, which is going to be a pretty similar course, but just by a different name. So it's nothing to be concerned about, but that's something that is happening and that you will hear about. And then Jackson was talking about how he does electrotechnology, and he does that outside of school. In a moment, Andrew and Alison are going to be talking about the vet offerings that we have at the school. But through our Bring Bank cluster, which is made up of government and non-government providers, students have the opportunity to enrol in one of the 9 vet subjects listed here that they can do off-site. One thing to be aware of, and on the subject selection evening, there'll be more information about this, that the external vets have a higher cost, which needs to be met to send the kids there. So I think we're running out of time. So should I hand over to Andrew, David, or are we going to have some questions now?
Yeah, look, what I might do is just remind attendees that if you do have questions that may relate specifically to what you're thinking about for next year, please don't hesitate to put those questions in the chat box, and we'll be able to answer them either by writing a response, or we can actually answer them verbally too. What we might do now is just alert you to that. Well, there'll be time for more to answer any questions too at the end. So if you do have any questions throughout this, please don't hesitate to put them in as we go. And as I say that, there's one question there. There is a question there. Where can my son do electrotechnology and how much does it cost? I might throw to either Sue or Joe. I might change those tapes providers change a bit from year to year, but I do know AGA do it. And yeah. Who are the other providers of electrotechnology?
I know Vic Uni does or sometimes does. Where do you do yours, Jackson?
So I do mine at Copperfield College, but you can also do it. So our class is half split up to go to one goes to Copperfield and the other goes to Vic Uni.
Okay, and the cost for that is around 1,500 per year, off the top of my head.
Yep. So thanks for your question, Joel. I hope that answered it. If you do have any questions later on, we can answer them at the end of the next part of the presentation. So I might hand over now to Andrew. And actually, I should also welcome Jake Mulcoon's joined us. He's another one of our Year 12 Vcal students. Say hi, Jake. And he'll be able to talk a little bit about his experience too later on. So I might hand to you, Andrew, to talk about vocational training.
Awesome, thanks for that. So yeah, my name's Andrew Casby. I'm the learning area convener for vocational training. Tonight I have Jake Mulcoon, who's the student leader for vocational training, as well as Alison Sawyer, who's the RTO manager. Might get Jake to kick us off with what is VET?
VET stands for Vocational Education and Training. VET is a program designed to provide practical skills and knowledge to prepare for work readiness in a chosen industry. VET uses a competency-based system to determine successful completion in a unit of competency of course. VET is a program designed to provide practical skills and knowledge to prepare for work readiness in a chosen industry. VET enables students to complete a nationally recognized vocational qualification and VCE or Vcal at the same time. VET courses are usually staged over 2 years with a Year 1 and a Year 2 component. There are currently 24 VC VET programs that incorporate a total of 42 different qualifications.
Awesome, thanks, mate. Yeah, so with VET, there's a few things obviously that we require in terms of for our students to make sure they meet specific outcomes. So normally how we ensure that students achieve their competency is ensuring that they actually meet the requirements that are through the training package, and all our training packages can be found online on training.gov.au. With trainers specifically, basically we determine whether students are competent through the performance criteria. So we basically look at that, we match up students' performances to ensure that they are competent in that field. How competency is usually determined is through showing of evidence through either knowledge or practical demonstration. This could be things through knowledge questions. It could be through observations. So, if it's in a practical sense for baking, for instance, it might be being able to bake cupcakes and doing a variety of things, or it can be through a variety of testing, which normally applies to the SWORD BCE sort of area. Students usually have around 3 opportunities to achieve competency should it not be met in the first instance. So what happens is normally trainers will set a specific date for students to submit work in. It can be through either hard copy or it can be done online. Normally trainers like to have a paper trail depending on, I guess, with the trainer specifically. On the specific day, once a student has handed in their work, we can then go through and assess that work and see if it's competent. If there's questions missing, for instance, then we can go from there with the student and work out specifically what they need to do. If the work they submit, however, is not competent or they don't have any work to submit, that is their first attempt. And then they may be given the 3-hour period that we have in our VET that specific day to complete it by then. If they don't happen to finish it off by then that's a second attempt, and then they might be given an extra week to get their 3rd attempt in. And usually on that 3rd attempt, if it's not handed in, given specific circumstances, I guess, then it is deemed as a fail. Students develop their skills and knowledge throughout time. It's mainly ensuring that we can ensure that students are in an industry or meeting the specific requirements for work placement following year 12, or to get into the work sort of industry that they're specifically interested in. So, if people are interested in hospitality, for instance, and they complete a course like a manor or kitchen ops, basically they will be harnessing skills that are given throughout those specific subjects. So it will be doing things like, cutting, or it could be waiting or waitressing, it could be through a variety of things. Which goes into how courses are using a simulated industry environment and real customers to practice skills. So with that, for instance, for kitchen operations, that's open to the public, which, they do happen to serve, patrons outside of the college, or can be internally as well. So then they're able to actually harness those skills, and they work hours that are similar to what they would be in a restaurant and hospitality industry as well. Finally, with students, they have an opportunity to gain a nationally recognised certificate 2 or 3 level qualification, depending on the subject or VET course they choose, or achieve units of competency towards a certificate. Should they happen to receive that in, they can still achieve a certificate of attainment, which means then that they would have to be required to, I guess, if they choose to pursue that career later on down the track, or in a TAFE, they might have to pay up front to do those additional courses that they may have failed in, for instance. I'll pass on to Alison to give a bit of more information about our VET courses that we do offer at the school.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the courses that come under the vocational education category at CRC. We have many other VET options, but these are the ones that come under the vocational category. So if any of these courses you're interested in looking at for next year, I would definitely encourage you to take down the contact details of the trainer so that you can reach out to them and ask for some specific information that relates to those courses. All of them have their own individual requirements. So it would be really good for you to get that specific information from them directly. So I'll just start off with VET Baking. Baking is a Certificate 2 course. It's conducted at CRC Sydenham in the Trade Training Centre. Students have access to a fully equipped commercial kitchen along with a retail store, our favourite CRC bakery and patisserie. The course is delivered, although the course is delivered on site, it's actually auspiced through an external RTO, William Angliss. The baking course is part of a food processing training package with the focus of on retail bakery. The course provides skills in the area of retail bakery and is nationally recognised. After the successful completion of the certificate, graduates may find multiple career choices from working in bakeries, cakes and patisserie stores or large hotels. Next we'll move on to VET Beauty. The aim of this course is to provide students with an overview and understanding of the beauty industry. Students have the opportunity to acquire skills, knowledge, and personal attributes to work in the beauty industry and provide clients with services in the areas of nails, makeup, waxing, lash and brow services. Students will also learn how to successfully operate and run a beauty salon while participating in client days where they'll practice their skills on paying customers. This is a certificate 3-level course, and if anyone's interested in this vet course, as I mentioned, definitely encourage you to reach out to the trainer just to seek more specific information about the course. Horticulture. The Certificate 2 in Horticulture provides students with a wide range of practical and employability skills as an introduction to the horticulture industry. Hands-on learning will include designing, construction, landscapes, planting, pruning and maintaining gardens, propagation of plants, testing soil and identifying pests and disease in plants. Opportunities exist for employment in a number of industries, sectors, including landscaping, nursery, parks and gardens and turf management. This vet course provides students with the knowledge and skills that will enhance their employment prospects in the horticulture industry. Next up, we've got hospitality and kitchen operations, quatrefoils. This course is for year 1, starts off as the commencement of a dual certificate 2 in hospitality and kitchen operations. In year 2, the students can choose their stream, so they can choose to complete the hospitality certificate or go on and complete the kitchen operations component of it. The hospitality program provides participants with knowledge and skills to achieve competencies that will enhance their employment prospects within a broad range of hospitality settings. This course is delivered on site in the Trade Training Centre. Students have access to a fully equipped commercial training kitchen and CRCIT's commercially operated training restaurant, Quatrefoils. Quatrefoils is open to the public 2 evenings a week and also provides catering for other private functions. This one I would definitely recommend that you reach out to the trainer because of the nature of the running of the Quatrefoils restaurant. It is open late to customers, so it would be really beneficial for you to get the details around that because the times for classes and restaurant opening services is much later than the regular timings for vet classes. Vet furnishing, the picture framing stream. This is a certificate 2-level course and is conducted in the Trade Training Centre. The Trade Training Centre is also home to a framing workshop and a retail store, Frames at CRC, where the majority of the training for this course is undertaken. The aim of the vet picture framing course is to provide participants with basic essentials of picture framing in this specialist area, train them to put together and join picture framing mouldings, mount artwork and handle glazing materials. They will gain competence in accurately measuring and performing calculations along with learning to use industry-specific handheld power tools. This course will also provide students with the skills to communicate with colleagues and customers as well as working effectively in a team. Cell and Assist. So the Certificate 2 in Cell and Assist, students will gain an understanding of what it's like to start a career in barbering or hairdressing. Students will undertake a variety of practical tasks to develop their skills in areas of shampooing, basin services, head and neck and shoulder massage. They'll learn skills to enable them to colour, style and blow dry, and they'll learn how to maintain and organise tools and equipment in their work area. The combined skills of this course will provide students with qualifications that will enable them to work in the hairdressing industry. Signage. The signage certificate course is also carried out in the Trade Training Centre. It has a classroom workspace that also acts as a shop front for the SID signs. This business is open to the public, giving students the opportunity to enhance their customer service skills as well as specific trade training of the program. This course provides a pathway into the signage industry. And lastly, we have just the straight kitchen operations course. So that is run out of the Manor Cafe rather than opposed to the restaurant. Kitchen operations is a certificate 2-level course run out of Manor. It provides students with hands-on experience in a commercial kitchen working with fresh ingredients, fruits, vegetables, poultry and meat items that are cooked using different methods of cookery and served to students over a lunch period. Students learn safety, hygiene and cleaning skills that prepare them for the workforce and life. They'll gain knowledge and skills to use in a range of job functions. The successful completion of the kitchen operations course enables participants to gain a nationally recognised Certificate 2 credential, and the Manor is open to the school community daily, serving delicious lunches prepared by students. So I think all the contact details for all of our courses were up there for the trainers. And if you've missed those, maybe just pop that in the chat and we can get that out to you.
Awesome, thanks, Alison. So in addition as well, there is vet courses that, like I mentioned earlier, that are done over 2 years that can be applicable to a score. Vcal students are also eligible for this. So obviously it won't contribute to an ATAR score. However, they're eligible to do it over the course of 2 years. If students are interested in doing a VCE scored vet program over the 2 years, they will be required, to complete year 1 next year, for instance. They have to do the whole year. If they choose that they don't want to go down that path, that's fine. They don't have to specifically choose that following year 11 into year 12. However, if they pick one specific vet subject that is for a score or along the sort of lines within these 13 programs here, they are required to complete that in year 2 as well. They can't change in between. So what I mean by that is if a student picks sport and recreation, for instance, and they do year 1, they can't jump into year 2 community services because the qualifications and the competencies that they're doing throughout that first year won't marry up with community services. So within these other subjects to be eligible for a score, you have allied health assistance, business. You also have sport and recreation, community service, vet dance, furnishing, hospitality, kitchen operations, information, digital media and technology, lab skills, music performance, music industry, and also screen media. Within these subjects, basically each UOC that is completed will contribute to a certain percentage of the score, depending on how many UOCs are completed. So if there are, for instance, 8 UOCs completed, they'll contribute to, I think, about 50% of the overall score. So work that out, probably 6% each, give or take. And then finally, at the end of the year, the students will complete their end of year exam, 3-4, which will be contributing to 50% of their overall score. So that's how students can get an ATAR score applied with the vet programs. So that's why it's extremely important, especially in the first year, that students are able to harness the skills going into the second year of what structures they need to make sure they're applying, writing styles, making sure they're meeting competency, because we determine how highly, I guess, in terms of the student is performed, and then we match that up against other students in the class to determine, who's the highest sort of benchmark response, for instance, and who then becomes in the middle tiers, which then affects their score overall. Sorry, David, you raised your hand there. You just want to jump in?
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. I just wanted to also mention that some of you may already have a draft template to fill out which subjects you would like to choose for next year. And some of you might be thinking about whether you're doing VCal or VCE. I suppose my comment here is for the people doing VCE. One of the things that you will need to choose is what we call an enrichment subject. Now, there are certain subjects which qualify as an enrichment subject, but all of the vets are an enrichment subject. So if there's anyone out there who's in this webinar but thinking about doing VCE rather than VCal, doing a vet is an important part of the decision making in terms of that enrichment subject.
Yeah, awesome, David. Next slide, please, Joe. Just finally with Alison, just finalise it off.
Okay, just a couple of things to keep in mind. For the external vets, there are extra costs and fees, as Joe touched on earlier. And some of our vocational courses, certainly baking, quatrefoils, manner and beauty, all have a uniform cost associated with them, which will vary from course to course. Students for the external vet, students may need to be able to travel to different campuses for their vet subjects. As Jackson pointed out, he does his vet elsewhere, so that may be a consideration for you also. There's a cutoff date for withdrawals. So if you were to start your vet at the beginning of the year, and then you, after a couple of weeks of vet, you decided that maybe it wasn't going to be for you, there is a cutoff date for withdrawals, which is the end of February. Students can't change their vets halfway through the year. You have to continue the vet. You can't choose a different one for the second half of the year. All of our courses are either run through our own RTO, CRC IT, or through an external training organisation. Students are required to fill out additional enrolment forms other than the ones that are completed for the school. So all of the RTOs have their own enrolment processes, and as part of their compliance, they are required to have students complete their own enrolment forms. So it's really important that regardless of which vet you choose, that all that paperwork is completed. As part of the enrolment process, all students will have to have what's called a USI, a unique student identification number. There'll be usually instructions on how to create one of these on the enrolment form that you'll get. But if not, you can just do a Google search on USI and it will bring up the portal for you. It's a really quick and easy process. It takes about 5 minutes. You will need one form of identification. Usually a Medicare card is enough, and you go through and complete the process and it will issue you a USI that will come through to your email address, and it's very important that you just have access to that. So don't lose your email, tuck it away somewhere, because you will need that down the track, probably not just for this vet course, but maybe in the future if you do any further study, you will be required to provide that. The portal also gives you an opportunity to create a login, in which case in the future you can always log back in and have a look at what vet qualifications you have completed. So it's a constant record of what vet qualifications you've completed. The majority of our vet courses run from 150 to 520. However, there are some that do not run to this time frame. Some of them will start earlier in the day, and as I mentioned before, the kitchen ops hospitality will run much later than that in the evening when there's restaurant services. So definitely reach out to the trainers to confirm all of those details that are specific for each course.
Just finally, just wanted to add as well, in terms of with the enrolment forms, usually trainers, if you do happen to pick up the vet programs during transition, they will definitely give you these forms during transition, that transition period. So it gives you an opportunity then at least to make your mind up whether you want to pursue that specific vet course or not, because you do happen to get an overview as to what's involved, usually within that specific vet subject that you have chosen. My details, as well as Alison details, are at the bottom of this slide as well. So if you do have any questions, even if it's specifically related around vocational training or vet, feel free to email us. Or if you happen to miss one of the trainers' emails before, feel free to email us as well, and we can be happy to obviously steer you in the direction that you might be heading towards. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Andrew and Alison, for that. And so we've also been fielding a few questions. I noticed that we've got another one there from Jenny. Can the students start on the job training at the start of year 11, or do they have to do 6 months of vet? Joe, that related to something you were saying there. Do you want to just field that one?
Yeah, so it's not actually a vet requirement, it's a Vcal requirement. So for Caroline Springs students who've started Vcal in year 10 and passed the first unit of work-related skills, they can start straight away. but if they haven't passed the first unit of work-related skills, they're not able to start job placement yet, because that covers occupational health and safety. So that's part of the insurance requirement for students to go out onto work placement. So yeah, for most cases, the work placement can only start from semester 2 in year 11.
Thanks, Joe. And we've got another one there from W. Thank you, W. Can you do different levels of literacy and numeracy, e.g. foundation literacy and then intermediate numeracy? That's actually a good question. I like that.
Yeah, that is.
You want to answer that, Joe? Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good question. It's something that you can do, and it is the case in probably 20% of our students. So most of our students stay at the same level for each of the subjects. But for you to get, for example, your intermediate VCAL certificate, you only need to have literacy and PDS at intermediate. And your numeracy and work-related skills can be at foundation. So if for whatever reason someone really struggles with numeracy, or sometimes it happens that their schooling is disrupted and they can't complete the same certificate levels for each course, it is possible to still graduate. But in most cases, people stick to the same certificate.
And I think it's probably worth pointing out that the level of literacy and PDS determines the level of VCAL certificate. That's correct, isn't it, Sue and Joe?
Yeah.
It is. And it's really mindful, because some students really may have a particular area that they're not comfortable or confident in. And we do have students that may be doing intermediate or senior PDS and literacy, and their numeracy may be at foundation or intermediate, and that's fine. That's not a problem. So we've had students, it's a PDS and literacy, as Joe said, that's a level that dictates the level of certificate VCAL you get. The other units, WRS and your numeracy, can be at a lower or equal level, but we have had students that really struggled in a particular area, like numeracy, and they didn't get that equivalent. That's not a problem. And we don't want people to be panicking about numeracy or maths, because if that's not your area. Having said that, you might surprise yourself, and I think a lot of you will once you get into the program, because the actual style and the setup of the program, you might find that you embrace that and flourish, because it is a little bit different, and it's aimed at practical learning, which a lot of you, if you're picking VCAL, all of you that should be your style of learning, but it's fine.
Thanks, Sue. We've got another one there about work placement. Thank you, Rita, for your question. Do we have to organise work placement, or is the school able to assist us with this work placement for VCAL? I think, Joe, did you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah.
And obviously, Jackson, you're a great example of how you were able to get that work placement yourself. But what do we like students to be able to do here?
Yes and no is the answer. Mostly no in terms of the school assisting. We assist the students in terms of getting them job ready, giving them the skills to write their CVs and go to an employer. But one of the skills that we're looking for our students to do is to be able to go out and find a work placement themselves. So most of the time this is through a family network, and we understand that not all families know someone who is in the area of work that the student wants to go into. And in that case, students often contact companies, do a Google search for people who work in the areas and contact employers that way. There is also a Brimbank learning and employment network where some employers advertise that students can find work placements through. But it's part of that, I suppose, the skill of going out there and finding a job for yourself and communicating with different people that we're after. And sometimes it takes a while, and there's flexibility within the program for that to happen. For example, if a student starts looking for a work placement halfway through the year, and they don't find it, they can continue in their second vet at school until they've found the work placement. So it's not until they're in year 12 in order to get the hours required that they have to be at the work placement. So yeah, the year 11 can be sort of dedicated to finding that work placement if it's not as easy as it was for, I suppose, Jackson.
Great, thanks, Joe. Yeah, it's often a daunting thing, I think, for students to do that, but I think part of the support that we can provide is helping students through that process. So it's still students initiating that, but we can offer support in that process. So I think there are a number, there's a few more questions still open here. Another one for you, Rita, thank you for these questions. Okay, what happens during COVID-19 lockdowns as some employers are hesitant on taking on students? Good point. And how many hours of work placement do they need to do?
During the lockdowns, we get messages from Vcal and they say that work placements are suspended at the moment. And in this case, there is a bit of leeway in how many hours of work placement that are needed to do, because you are right that sometimes workplaces are closed down or employers don't want to take on people. So yeah, there is flexibility for that. Fingers crossed that by the time your son or daughter is looking for their work placement, will be beyond the lockdowns, but I suppose it's hard to make predictions at the moment.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe. And hopefully that answers your question, Rita. Diane's got another one about work placement. Do you have to stay at one work placement, or if you don't like the first one, can you choose another one afterwards?
That's a good question. So you can move workplaces. It's ideal to sort of stick it out for a while, and I suppose do your diligence as an employee to choose a work placement that you think you'd like, but obviously that doesn't always work out. And yeah, if there's a bad situation, we're not going to force people to keep going. But at the same time, part of doing VCal is being I suppose someone who knows what they want to do and has that direction. So it's not ideal when students sort of chop and change, or it doesn't reflect well on the students if the student wants to goes and then changes again. So yes, it is possible to change, but ideally you'll find a work placement that works really well. And as with Jackson, and it's quite often that students work placements turn into an apprenticeship. So it's a really good extended job interview, if you like.
Thanks, Joe. And thank you for that question again. There's another one here from Michelle. Thanks, Michelle. Is there a carpenter or carpentry course, or is this just building and construction? I would say yes to that in terms of what we can offer. Does anyone want to add to that?
Yeah, there is.
The external. Yep, sorry, go, Joe.
Yeah, yes, there is, and it's offered externally, and a number of our students do carpentry. Another course that our students often choose is the multi-industry pathway, which has limited intake, but in year 11, you do carpentry, plumbing, and electrical, and then in year 12 you focus on which one you want to do. But yes, there is a carpentry course offered externally.
And it's worth pointing out that more information about all of these courses can be found in our 2022 handbook, which is available from our website as well. And I think no doubt your teachers at your 7 to 10 schools will be directing you to that document as well. It's a very extensive publication, about over 500 pages. It does have a contents page, which is really useful. So if anything here, if you need more information, I'd certainly direct you to there. We've also got perhaps one more, and then we might get towards winding up. Thank you, Elizabeth. You've asked if you want to do the external plumbing course, do you still need to choose an internal vet program and also choose a Vcal Vet elective? Joe, do you want to fill that one?
Yep. So if you're in year 11 and you haven't started your work placement, so your week will look like this. You'll have 3 days where you're doing the Vcal core subjects, and then so typically it's Monday, Thursday, Friday, and so Tuesday and Wednesday will be the days for your vets and your work placement. So say you're doing plumbing on the Tuesday, Wednesday you would be doing an internal vet, which you would drop once you started a work placement. And then for one period on a Friday and a Monday, you do the Vcal Vet elective, which is just a bit of a taster in a different vet that we offer at school. So you could be doing plumbing and then say, you know what, I'm interested in gardening, and so you could do the horticulture vet elective or baking or something like that. That's completely different, just to try something new.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you for your question, Elizabeth. Well, given that there are no further questions, I might just move on to this final part of the presentation tonight. From this point now, obviously we've got a number of other webinar sessions throughout the end of this week and into next week, which may be of interest to you. So we certainly urge you to attend those online. But in terms of what you'll be doing in terms of meeting further with us, North Keilor students will be meeting with us next Wednesday over Zoom, and you'll be given Zoom links to meet with one of us here at CRC Sydenham, and we will be able to enter your course into our system. And as well as that, it's a way for us to also help counsel you through the subject selection process, give you any further information that you may need. There's information there about the levies associated with the different subjects, and that way we can basically lock in a course for you. So North Keilor, you're doing that with us on Wednesday the 11th. St Albans and Carolyn Springs, you'll be doing that on Wednesday the 18th of August. And I think that's it from that. Is that the last slide there, Joe? Oh yeah, there's just more information there, just so you know. It's probably worth pointing out that when we interview, that third dot point there, the interviews last for about 15 minutes. And we do look at your academic results and including your NAPLAN data. And also you may remember sitting an aptitude test at the beginning of this year. We do use that data, and that data really does help us in getting to know you from an academic standpoint. And it helps us guide you to make sure that you're getting the most out of the courses here at CRC Sydenham over the next 2 years. They're usually very fruitful conversations, but also with the view of trying to lock in those subjects. So make sure that when you come to those interviews that you've got your the draft that you've been working on with your teachers at your 7 to 10 schools. And that way that's going to make that process a lot smoother, and it's going to help guide that conversation for you. And so I think that brings us to a conclusion for tonight's webinar. Thank you so much for attending, and thank you all of the panelists here tonight, and particularly our students, to Jackson and to Jake. Guys, you did a great job. So thank you, everybody, and we might leave it there, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.